Hey, good morning. I know it's not as good as a Monday morning as last week, but again, another competitive game by the Patriots. And, here's the lesson we should all learn. If there are no turnovers in a game, an NFL game is going to be tight no matter who's playing.
Well, very close. I mean, the problem for me is going to be, you're the expert, so I want your response. But can you rely on just running the football all season long if you're the New England Patriots?
Going into the season, I think we talked about this, just exactly what they were going to be on offense, and it was going to be anything exciting, that it was going to be plotting, and it was going to be close to the vest. They don't really have that many playmakers. You want to talk about Hunter Henry having a career day, that's one thing. But, when you look on the other side and you see Metcalf and Smith and Jigba, you see, top-tier talent at wide receiver. And the Patriots really haven't had that player since Randy Moss. So, that's how far back that goes. And that's part of the Patriots' problem. But if I were Gerard Mayo and I had what I had, and this would be the way that I would have to play. The question is, when is Drake Maye going to hit the field? He's not going to hit it this week. Maybe after this week he hits it. I don't know, but they just don't really have any game-breaking playmakers right now on offense.
Well, Boomer, I mean, we can clearly see that we don't have the DK Metcalf, the established wide receiver. The problem that I think the issue might be is we don't know what we have at wide receiver because – we can't push the ball downfield. We can't hit some of those 15-yard dig routes because everything is checkdowns and tight ends in the flat. So I think that's the biggest question is because of the limitations of the quarterback, we don't know what we have at wide receiver.
Yeah, that could be part of the problem. But, I mean, in all practical reality in the NFL, I still think the Patriots are doing the right thing by, putting Jacoby Brissett out there. He's trying to play a very clean game. It's not pretty. It's not exciting. If he were throwing 3 interceptions in a game, I would sit here and tell you they got to get him off the field and I got to put the rookie out there because, this doesn't make any sense to me. But if he's going to play a conservative, careful game and not turn the ball over and give his team a chance to win late in the game, then I got to tell you, if I am the coach, I'm the coaching staff, I'm sitting there on the sideline, this is our best way to win, and they almost did it 2 weeks in a row. That's the reality of what's going on here. So, again, short week, and there's no way Drake Maye is in this game unless Jacoby gets hurt. But it's just the way that they're playing.
Yeah, Boomer, I was going to bring up the fact that you look around the league, you see Bo Nix, you see Caleb Williams. They have 2 interceptions in their both games this week. So if you're Gerard Mayo, you see Jacoby Brissett out there not making mistakes, having the ability to escape with an offensive line that seems to keep breaking down. So for you, even 2 weeks from now, if Jacoby keeps playing the way that he is, why would you take the risk of putting out Drake?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on what the situation is. If they lose this week to the Jets on a short week, then all of a sudden things may start to change, and internally they may start to change, and they may see more on the practice field from Drake Maye. And this is all valuable stuff for Drake right now. I know it's frustrating for fans not to see their top draft pick and to watch Caleb Williams last night or watch Bo Nix yesterday struggle in these games. It's frustrating for those fans too because they're not winning their games. So again, there's just ways to handle quarterbacks a little bit differently. I always go back to the fact that Carson Palmer never played a game his rookie year for the Bengals and turned out to be really good. Patrick Mahomes played 1 game his rookie year. Aaron Rodgers barely played for 2.5 to 3 years. Same with Jordan Love. So every situation's a little bit different, but all I can say is that the Patriots I picked them to cover. I picked them possibly even win the game yesterday, just simply because of the way that they can play and the way that their defense can keep them in games. They're going to bend and bend and bend, and they're going to give up some big plays, but a lot of times they're going to keep the opposing team out of the end zone, which is, I think, the recipe that they're trying to invoke right now to win football games.
Speaking of the Jets, which quarterback gets credit for that win yesterday, Aaron Rodgers or Will Levis?
Will Levis, another bonehead play of the year, man. I mean, it's just I don't know what they're going to do with him down there, but his penchant for making mistakes in big spots, especially in the red zone and throwing the ball backwards, I mean, it's so bizarre. And somehow you got to sit these kids down and you got to tell them you can't do crap like that. So I thought that Aaron Rodgers actually played really well in the second half. This is the second game in a row where we've seen glimpses of the Aaron Rodgers that we saw in Green Bay when he was at the top of his game. So the team is good. They lost one of their best defensive linemen in Jermaine Johnson. It looks like he tore his Achilles yesterday, so that's a big loss for them. They still have the holdout for Hassan Reddick. I doubt he'll be back on a short week playing for the Jets. So the Jets have a myriad of problems, but they are a good team, and Aaron Rodgers looks like he's finally settling in.
Boomer, just about the Patriots, one more from yesterday. Is this the ground floor of the rebuild, even though it's year 5 after Tom? Like, is this – because the way I've watched this team this year has been better than I expected, but totally bereft of talent. And I see the way in which Jacoby Brissett is managing the game, no highlight reel plays, but it feels like they're just trying to get some space, some ability to build around that offensive line to get the offense going in a certain direction before putting Drake Maye in. And if that's the start of the rebuild, I guess I understand it.
Yeah, I listen, they had to take Bill Belichick out of the building and, replacing all that he had done for all those years that he was there is not going to be easy. And it is bereft of talent, especially on offense, especially at wide receiver, and especially at offensive line. I mean, they're juggling linemen. Linemen are leaving and taking off and not coming back. I mean, it's crazy what's going on up there. And I can imagine that every time they sit down and they start talking about their offensive line, their rookie, what Jacoby Brissett is trying to do, I mean, I'm sure it's so frustrating, but they also realize the reality is they don't want to put a rookie out there and get him hurt, especially if that rookie is just not ready yet. And only they know internally whether or not his communication skills, his huddle command, all of those things that are so important to the offense are ready to take over an offense that's built like this. So, yeah, you're right. It's a frustrating rebuild. There's no question about it. But I got to say, for 2 weeks now, they have been supremely competitive and more competitive than I thought they would be.
Is Brian Daboll still employed this morning?
He's going to be. He'll go through the season. This is going to be a tough one for him this morning. I mean, they did something that nobody's ever done in the NFL, and that is score 3 touchdowns in a game and give up 7 field goals and lose the game. And the kicking situation, everybody down here is like, how do you not have a backup kicker on the field? How do you not? I'm like, how many teams actually have a backup kicker if the punter can't kick? So I remember back in Cincinnati, we had a punter. His name was Lee Johnson, and we had a kicker, Jim Breach. And if Jim couldn't make a kick, say from 55 out, Lee Johnson would attempt that kick. So we had a backup kicker, so to speak, just in case something happened to Jim Breach. And that's usually the way it goes in the NFL. The fact that, you have this practice squad elevation situation going on, and the Giants do have a rookie kicker on their practice squad, and they didn't elevate him knowing that there was a problem with Gano's groin going into the game, and then Gano gets hurt on the first kickoff by pulling his hamstring. You just can't make it up. I mean, it's the way the Giants have gone the last 3, 4, 5, 7 years, I think. And I think Brian Daboll's probably on thin ice for sure.
Boom, I think the reality of it is based on the way the Patriots play defense and run the football. And if you look at the landscape of the rest of the NFL, and I know it's only week 2 and I could be getting ahead of myself, but there isn't a team that really stands out and goes, okay, they're far superior than everybody else. You look at Cincinnati plays Kansas City close. The Patriots obviously beat Kansas City in week 1.
Cowboys get blown out.
Cowboys get blown out.
Ravens 0-2.
Ravens lose. I think the reality is that you have a good football team, but your inability at the quarterback position to throw the football could be taking away from your chances to actually making a legitimate run rather than say, okay, this is a rebuild.
Yeah, it's interesting. Their last 3 drives of the game yesterday, I think they missed the field goal and then they punted twice. And that to me is the highlight or the low light of the Patriot offense. Like the game is right there. You take the lead 20-17. In past years, Tom Brady would, just eat up the clock. They'd end up kicking a field goal or scoring a touchdown late, and they'd win by 10. And yesterday, that just did not happen. I mean, they end up missing a field goal, of course, and then they punt on their last 2 series, and that's really the crux of the game. Coming down to the fourth quarter, there's no turnovers. The game is tight. which quarterback is going to make the play or which offensive player is going to make a great catch or make a long run, and that just didn't happen for the Patriots. And Patriot fans for 20 years were used to those situational parts of the game to be made. All those plays were made. So it's a very close league. There's no question about it. I would also remind people that the first 4 weeks of the season, the first month of the season, we are still in preseason mode football-wise in terms of understanding who everybody is, what these teams are going to look like, and there's going to be a lot of inconsistency along the NFL through the first 4 or 5 games of the season.
The question of the week for Boomer Esiason is brought to you by McFarland Energy, the region's most dependable provider of home heating oil delivery and expert HVAC services at McFarlandEnergy.com. Boomer reports over the weekend are that Tua wants to return to play, talking to specialists about how quickly he can come back. If you were he, would that be what you were doing?
Yeah, I would. I mean, he's got a lot of money on the table. There's a lot to look at. There's a lot of nuance in the contracts. I know he wants to play. I know that I don't think the Dolphins are going to let him play initially. I think maybe a short-term stint on the IR, maybe 4 weeks, and then he comes back in 5 weeks. That's what I would expect. But I've said this a million times, and maybe Jermaine agrees with me. Even knowing what I know now, if I knew all of what I know now when I was playing back in the 80s and the 90s, would I have done it all over again? And my answer to that is unequivocally yes. I would have played. I loved every moment in the NFL, every concussion that I took, every injury that I sustained were a part of a decision that I had to make to go out there on that field, and I loved it. I loved all 14 years, losing, winning, being around the guys, going out on that football field every Sunday was such a high that I don't think anything could ever replace that. So I understand where Tua's coming from. My own personal feeling is that if I could play, I wanted to play. So it's his decision. It's his family's decisions. The real question is, will the NFL allow him back on the field if he is not cleared by an independent neurologist? That's where it would get interesting.
How many is too many, though, Boomer? If you're a player and you have 3 diagnosed ones in your NFL career and you're that young and you have 2 little kids and a wife, like how many is too many concussions to say, wait a minute, I do need to walk away from this?
Courtney, I think every player is different. Every family's different. I would say through high school, college, and pro, I would imagine somewhere between 7 and 10 concussions for me. Everyone was a little bit different. I took a really bad one in 1995, much like Tua. And Bruce Smith hit me under the chin, and I missed 4 games. And I think I was the first player in concussion protocol, believe it or not, back in 1995. Wow. So, and I came back to play 4 weeks later, and oddly enough, it was against the Bills, in which that was the team I took the concussion against. So, look, there are long-term effects. We all live a certain way. We all do things in our life that are dangerous, and we all respect and understand the responsibility that comes along with a decision like this, and I'm sure Tua and his wife are talking about it. And again, it's not always about the money, but this is a significant amount of money that if the league tells him he can't play or an independent neurologist says he cannot play, then he'll get his injury guarantee money. If the league clears him and allows him to play and then he decides not to play, then that's where it really gets sticky when it comes down to the guaranteed money, because it's almost like receiving a signing bonus and then retiring in the middle of that signing bonus proration, and then the team claws back the money that they gave you because you did not fulfill your end of the contract. So like that, those are a big part of what he's got to think through and his family's got to think through, and what makes more sense, his total health and well-being or the amount of money that he would be leaving on the table. So I think that's a big part of this whole thing, and I can't even put myself in that situation to make an accurate decision as to whether or not he should be playing.
Well, just last one for me. If you were to put yourself in a position of a new broadcaster who potentially got a phone call from an incredibly talented roster with a quarterback out with a concussion, would you respond with a yes if you were Tom Brady in the Miami Dolphins call?
Wow. I heard that. I heard that immediately after he was hurt. As a matter of fact, there was a meme going around out there that had Tom Brady in that Miami uniform. And as a matter of fact, we all know that Stephen Ross tried to hire another Michigan man way back when, about 4 or 5 years ago, and it didn't happen. So that's a really good one. I don't think he would come out of the booth. And by the way, I thought his game yesterday, he was much better than his game previous. So he's already improved significantly. But, that would be an interesting one. I don't think it's going to happen, though.
What about after Saturday? Can we determine that the best Manning family member is still to come to the NFL, Boomer?
Yeah, how about that run, man? That was amazing. And I was texting with Archie Manning, of all people, who said that he misses me and Phil on Sunday's NFL Today. And I said, Arch, I appreciate it. Great sentiment. I'm playing golf. I'm having a great time.
Those are your people.
Right. I'm having yeah, exactly. And, those people, have lives too there, Greg, and you're not that far behind, by the way. So I said, I see you got another super stud coming up in the family. What a legacy that guy has left.
Unbelievable.
Right? Unbelievable.
Yes.
All right. Well, listen, short week. It's Pats Jets. We appreciate you taking the time as always, Boomer.
All righty, guys. I'll talk to you next week. Have a great one.